Welcome forward here this is chapter 6, a part 2, in the middle of page 49, starting off with love is blind. That is what is claimed in an old proverb. It is true that one who loves is incapable of seeing defects and faults in a beloved, which are apparent to friends and relatives. Love is not blind. Love is the clarifier. No one is so blind as one who hates, one who can see only people's faults and weaknesses. Moreover, love stimulates the development of latent capacities for good, and one becomes better and nobler for having truly loved, or having been the recipient of an unselfish and pure affection. Why do we love certain people? For their admirable traits, excellent character, or sterling values? Often the opposite is true. We love them despite their shortcomings and defects. We love them for some characteristic or peculiarity, for their wit or perhaps charm, friendly manner, or kind heart. In other words, we love people for themselves, because they are as they are, and we would not change them if we could. One can never give a logical reason for love, when love ascends, the throne, the reasons abdicate. Intelligent people, just as often as the unintelligent, place their affections unwisely. And there is no greater agony than to love someone with all your heart, someone you know to be unworthy, and yet be hapless to free yourself. Time alleviates but never obliterates the scars of such emotional suffering. Never do we forget those who have made us suffer. Love's power accounts for many peculiar relationships. One sees individual clings to those who no longer love them. Frequently, even to those who abuse them. If love were under the control of the will, such unions would be speedily terminated. But alas, they cannot for the time being sever their emotional bonds. Often married people seem mismated. They differ in temperament, education, tastes, idea, and ideals, and yet despite these apparent irreconcilable characteristics, they achieve a plausible harmony. While such people may have many interests and ideas not mutually shared, they do have in common at least one point of interest. It may be only an instinctive attraction, but it is sufficiently powerful to keep them together. Look around and try to explain to yourself how certain individuals found a mate. You wonder how anyone ever came to marry such an unattractive and peculiar person. It seems strange to us who do not love them, but not to the lover, whose life would be devastated with the loss of his partner. Nature always has her ultimate purposes, with no regard or consideration for the suffering involved to the individual. Nature is never interested in individuals, only in people collectively. Love, like God, is no respecter of persons or with the worth of the individual. Hence it is not uncommon to see unworthy people the recipient of deep affection. This is not because the loved one is worthy or capable of inspiring so much devotion, but is due to the great capacity of the other to love. That is the secret of all great loves, the capacity to love, and not the worth of the recipient. Love is the theme for all great music, literature, sculpture, and painting. Love inspired the conception and construction of the world's most beautiful building, the Taj Mahal. Everyone who has ever seen it has marveled at the sublime beauty, yet felt it to be different, apart from all others in the world. True, it was built for a mausoleum, but it is not death one thinks of when contemplating its beauty. One thinks of deathless love and the eternal marriage. What therefore God hath joined together, let no man put asunder, has been interpreted by some theologians that man has the power to undo the work of God. Divorce is man-made and puts asunder only carnal marriages. What God hath joined together, no man can separate. Man can only put asunder what he or the flesh hath joined together. What God or love have joined together are forever one. Divorce separates only those who are physically mated, never those who are spiritually married, for the twain are one. Surface marriages are as naught compared to the holy tie of spiritual matrimony. True marriages, or soul affinity, is the realization that man and woman have no actual existence apart from each other, that they are, in fact, counterparts without which their separate lives are imperfect and unformed. Neither man nor woman can enjoy anything alone. They need their other half to share their joys and their sorrows and to make their life complete. Life is dual, and love, true soul love, is the bond of union, which reunites the severed parts. The bond exists independent of personal charms or mental endowments. It annihilates self and selfishness, prefers the beloved beyond all else, survives through sickness and health, through good or evil, lives for the one beloved, dies and realizes heaven only in the union which death may interrupt but cannot sever. Divine spiritual affinity survives death and the grave, unites the two, and in eternity perfects the dual nature of man and woman, companions for eternity. Lives are made or broken by marriage. Lives are permanently altered by marriage, whether the union be temporary or permanent. When marriage is entered lightly and severed carelessly, usually both parties are deeply wounded and lose some of their idealism through this experience. Neither emerges from the situation as they entered it, and their affection, instead of being a living and beautiful thing, becomes ashes, and bitter ones at that. Often people value material possessions more than love and affection. They guard and insure them against accident, fire, and loss, and theft. On the other hand, they let their marriages die for the lack of love and understanding. Some erroneously regard marriage as synonymous with bondage, and assume that their liberty is relinquished with marriage. There never was a greater mistake. In true marriage, both parties have more freedom than out of it. Married, many people rise to heights they never would have attained if single. One marital authority truly says, "There's nothing you can do outside of a marriage that you can't do in marriage, and do a lot better." Everything in life has its price, and love is no exception. But unlike most other things, love is always worth the cost, which is pain. Love and pain are inseparable. One cannot be had without the other, for eventually death will impose a temporary separation. If, however, one realizes that the separation is only temporary, it will ease the agony of parting and enable one to bear the loneliness, and to look forward with absolute certainty to reunion. Shall we meet those we love when we die? Most assuredly we shall, and those we loved on earth we shall see again. Where there is love, there is no death, for love is of that, for love is of the deity. No way has ever been found to kill real love, that which perishes is not love, but a counterfeit. If you have ever loved anyone, love their very soul. Have you never ceased to love them? Love is like the soul. It is eternal and does not experience death. And such ends chapter 6 of Love. Next chapter is entitled Religion.